The Hittite Empire was one of the great powers of the ancient Near East during the second millennium BCE, so around 4,000 and 3,000 years ago. And this kingdom, with its famous capital Hattusa, was founded around 1650 BCE. Now, the history of the Hittites did not start then. They were a people who were already present for centuries in Anatolia, so in modern-day Turkey. And the Hittites descended from the Indo-Europeans. And the Indo-Europeans were a people who lived thousands of years ago in the steppes of modern-day Ukraine and southwest Russia, in the region north of the Black Sea. And the Indo-Europeans then started to emigrate to all different parts of the world, stretching from Europe to modern-day northern India. And the Hittites were part of these emigrating groups of Indo-Europeans, and after a lengthy journey, they finally arrived and settled in Anatolia. And throughout this journey, and upon arrival and settlement in Anatolia, they started to form their own cultural identity, their own culture, which was largely based on the civilizations that they encountered in Anatolia, because Anatolia was already for centuries inhabited by other non-Indo-European people, such as the Hurrians and the Hattians. And so, with time, we see a Hittite civilization emerge. And the first time we actually see Hittites appear in history are in business documents of Assyrian traders, so people who came from modern-day Iraq to Anatolia for trade. And we see Hittite names appear in their business documents. But the Hittites, they were not content with being a mere footnote in the history of the Assyrians, so they started to look for ways to become more politically influential. So we see Hittites emerge as a dominant group in certain Anatolian cities, such as Ganesh and Kushara. Kushara, by the way, has not been found to this day. Ganesh has. And Ganesh was later on in Hittite history, by the way, still regarded as their city of origin, the place where it all started for them in history. And soon enough, we see the first rulers, the first monarchs of Hittite stock emerge in history. And the first ruler we know by name is called Anitta. And he ruled around 1750 BCE. So we're now 100 years before the emergence of the famous Hittite Empire. So already then we have kings in Anatolia who were Hittites. And this Anitta has left us a very important document, which the archaeologists, in all their originality, have called the Anitta text. And why is it so important? Because the Anitta text is the first source we possess, the oldest document, which is written down in the Hittite language itself. And consequently, it's also very important for linguistics, for Indo-European linguistics, because the Indo-Europeans, the forefathers of the Hittites, did not write down their own language. But we can reconstruct this mother language to a certain extent by researching the oldest attested daughter languages of Indo-European, among which Hittite has the honorable position of being the oldest. Now, this Anitta text describes the exploits, the military exploits of this king. And one of the more interesting parts is the campaign of Anitta against the Hattians, so the pre-Indo-European indigenous people of Anatolia. And they were centered in the city of Hattusa. And Anitta describes that during his campaign, he conquered, pillaged, destroyed the city of Hattusa. He even sowed it with weeds and cursed it. Now, there is a certain irony to this, because Hattusa would later become the capital of the Hittite Empire. It would become a city almost synonymous with the Hittites. In any case, after the death of this Anitta, we enter a dark age of the Hittites, a period of 100 years during which the fate of the Hittites remains fairly unknown. Until 100 years later, the famous Hittite kingdom with its capital Hattusa emerges and claims its rightful place in the history of the ancient Near East.